Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to share with you a success story on a man creating $84,000 in 3 weeks. So I'm going to break down this testimonial for you in detail. That way you can apply this yourself. So in this testimonial, this man wins $84,000. But actually the time that this actually took place, $84,000 now would be more like $840,000. So he almost won $1 million. So if it were to happen today, if you were to create this, recreate this today, it would be $840,000 after 3 weeks of doing this imaginal act that I'm going to share with you in this success story. All right, so in Neville Goddard's audience sat a man who, by his confession, was absolutely broke. He had no money. And at the same time, he had been reading Neville Goddard's books, and he's been going to Neville Goddard's lectures, but he had done nothing to use his imagination to solve his financial problems. But he decided he would try to imagine himself as the winner of the 510 pool at the Caliente racetrack. And in his words, in this pool, one attempts to pick winners in the 5th through the 10th races. So this is what he did. All right, so he did this in his imagination. He stood in his imagination, sorting his winning tickets and feeling that he had each of the 6 winners, and then he enacted this scene over and over in his imagination until he actually felt goosebumps. And then he saw the cashier giving him a large sum of money, which he placed beneath his imaginary shirt. So what he did essentially in his imagination was he located what it would look like had he won the pool at the Caliente racetrack with the winners through the 5th through the 10th races. So he wanted to create that, and in his imagination, he's standing there and he's looking at his winning tickets. And then he does this and he takes that feeling in that he has won while he's looking at these tickets in his imagination, actually feeling this until he actually feels goosebumps on his arms or wherever, but he was feeling goosebumps. And then in his imaginal act, he saw the cashier giving him a large sum of money, which would imply that they were actually winning tickets. So he's taking that feeling in, and then he's seeing the cashier give him the winning amount of money. And this was his entire imaginal drama. This is all he did. He just kept recreating this same scene over and over and looping that in his imagination night after night, reenacting this scene as he was falling asleep. So he's actually doing exactly what my grandfather used to talk about and what Neville Goddard talks about. What you fall asleep with is going to happen to you, just like climbing the ladder. So he's visualizing this, winning this large amount of money at the Caliente racetrack. So he's just got this small visual scene, and he just keeps reenacting it until he's gathering this feeling. He's getting goosebumps. He's seeing the cashier give him the cash. So he's actually seeing all of this, feeling all of it, and night after night falling asleep with this. Just like the ladder, you're climbing the ladder as you're going to sleep. And it doesn't matter what happens during the day. It doesn't matter what you do during the day to try to not climb that ladder. It's going to happen if you fall asleep doing it. All right, so after 3 weeks, he traveled physically to the Caliente racetrack, and on that day, every detail of his imagination, his imaginal act, played out and was actually realized exactly how he visualized it. The only change in the scene was that the cashier gave him a check for a total of $84,000 instead of actual cash. So he got a check instead of cash, and that was the only difference with his imaginal act, because the details don't really matter. He got the money. It was the feeling that he created and fell asleep with for 3 weeks. He was that dedicated. So anything that you're trying to create, if you're this dedicated, where you're going to fall asleep actually imagining this and not let anything throw you off. Like no matter what's happening in your life, you're completely disregarding that. But as you fall asleep, you are dedicated to doing this. You are dedicated to visualizing and creating this imaginal act or affirming or scripting as if it's real and creating that feeling state and doing this. And you're doing this repetition every single night, looping it over and over as you're falling asleep. Eventually, you are going to fall asleep. You're going to make this so real, because you've been doing it for so long and creating this scene. You are eventually going to be thinking from it, and you're going to fall asleep thinking from it, and you're going to be in the scene as if it's happening now, and it's going to materialize into your world within a matter of days or weeks or months, depending on how faithful and consistent you are to your imaginal act. Keep doing it every single night. Create it, make it real, fall asleep with it, loop it over and over, and how badly you want this, how consistent you will be while you're creating this. Eventually, maybe it'll happen fast. Maybe it'll happen the first night. You'll be thinking from it, fall asleep with it, and have it happen to you the very next day. But something like this, $840,000 you're creating in 3 weeks is a pretty good deal if you ask me. So stay dedicated to that and create that into your life. So I'm going to give you a brief recap because this video, this testimonial, this success story is so powerful. So this man was sitting in Neville Goddard's lectures, and he had confessed that he had read Neville Goddard's books. He was sitting at his lectures listening to him, but he never did anything to actually create with his imagination. And he even confessed that he was completely broke, but now he was going to work on something. He knew about this Caliente racetrack that he wanted to win. He needed 6 tickets to win $84,000. So he created this imaginal act that he was standing there in his imagination with the winning tickets in his hands. And then he looked at these tickets in his imagination until he felt the realness of being a winner. He did this until he actually felt goosebumps. He actually felt goosebumps, and then he visualized the cashier giving him $84,000 in cash. In cash, the cashier was, and then he fell asleep with this feeling for 3 weeks. Every single night, he recreated this scene until he fell asleep. He did this in his imagination, falling asleep with this for 3 weeks. And then the 3rd week, he went to the Caliente racetrack, played the 6 tickets exactly like he did in his imagination, and every part of his imaginal act came true. He won all the money, and the only difference there was is that the cashier gave him a check for $84,000 rather than $84,000 in cash. All right, guys, that's the end of this video, and I want to point out one of my meditations that will actually assist you in creating this feeling. It'll actually help you count $100 bills. That way, in your imaginal act, if you're trying to create cash coming to you, this meditation will assist you on learning how to develop that part of the mind where you can start seeing the money in your mind. You can start making visual scenes in your mind, and this meditation kind of walks you through that and gives you steps and examples. So I'm going to post that meditation card on the screen right now. So click on that. You can use that during the day or at night to improve your visualization skills. That way you can create with your imagination. All right, guys, don't forget to give me one thing you guys are grateful for, and I'll see you in the next video.